Hey, welcome to the 42 Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Joshua Kajila. This is a space built primarily for athletes where their stories are told and shared with the world. The name 42 means for the athlete to the world, and that's exactly our mission. Along the way, we'll also dive into everything happening in our wonderful world of sports. So whether you're an athlete, a fan, or just love a good story, you are in the right place. Hey guys, it's so good to be with you once again on the 42 Sports Podcast with me, Joshua Kajila. And I just want to say thank you so much for all the support, all the love and appreciation that you have given this show and me for the last few days, last couple of weeks. We only launched last week, Monday. And as of today, I got a message or an email saying that the show is ranked 26th in the country under the sports category. And so it's impressive. It's only been like a week and a half and we're already a top 30 podcast in South Africa. So I just want to say thank you to you once again for your support, for listening, for streaming, for commenting, for leaving a review. And if you still want to continue supporting me, continue listening, continue commenting, continue reviewing the show. And I'm always open to constructive feedback and criticism and all of that. But you can also continue sharing it with your friends, your family. If you know any athletes who might be interested in the show or might be interested in being in the show, then you can also share the podcast with them. So today's not going to be the longest episode in the world, but I think it's still going to be very powerful. And just a reminder, we have a show every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And I'm also actually thinking of having a ministry episode once a month. And you might be saying, okay, Joshua, this is a sports show. What does the sports show have to do with ministry? I could chat about sports for hours and hours every single day of my life and think about it and play it and whatnot. And it still wouldn't remain my number one love. My number one love is Christ. Jesus saved my life, and I will spend the rest of my life living for him. And so once a month, kind of flowing from that place of gratitude, we'll be having faith conversations on the show. It might be an interview with an athlete that is primarily focused on faith, or I'll just share some things that I'm learning and going through in my walk with Christ. And I'm hoping that you'll be blessed through those faith conversations. Okay, maybe you don't believe and you're a bit worried that like, okay, Josh, I kind of clicked this podcast just expecting sports. It's only going to be once a month. Okay, normally it's 12, but now with the ministry episode, it's going to be 1 out of 13. So 1 out of 13 episodes a month will be focused on faith. And so you don't have to worry about this show, the sports show, becoming a Christian show, and that's not what you're looking for. But after, I sort some things out on my side, and maybe we come up with a name for it. From maybe even in October, we might be able to really already roll out with it, but I'll have to give you an update on that. And so my comment section is always open. If maybe there's a suggestion, or maybe you have a question, or you disagree with something, whether it's about my opinions on Manchester United, Ruben Amorim, or maybe even about the faith. This is a space and a platform where I'm more than willing to discuss and have conversations with you as we continue to grow. Right, with all of that behind me, I feel like that's like maybe the longest intro I've ever had so far. I mean, I've only had, up until now, like 4 shows, this being the 5th. But yeah, that definitely felt like a long intro. But don't worry, this episode isn't going to be that long. I'm going to be speaking about the importance of sport in South Africa, specifically for the youth, for the younger generation. There was an article that came out where South Africa, I think according to a survey, was ranked as the 4th place. South Africa was ranked 4th place out of 10, or out of the top 10 most athletically talented countries. Sorry, this website that I'm reading from, they could have maybe written that title a little bit better. But South Africa is the 4th most athletically talented country in the world. And I mean, on top of my head, just off the top of my head, I can think of the rugby talent we have, the athletics talent we have, the soccer talent we have, the cricket talent, the hockey talent, The rowing talent. There's so many different sports that we thrive in. I mean, Dricus du Plessis, although he's not champion anymore, he was the middleweight UFC champion. And so even MMA, very talented country. But what we have seen maybe in the past is a lack of, I guess, resources or training. I mean, just looking at the rest of the list, above us, we have Brazil, Argentina, Russia, then it's us. And we're actually placed on top of the United States. They rank currently 5th on this survey. And then Kenya's also there, Germany, Cameroon, and Spain, and China. So, I mean, those are decent sporting countries. I'm thinking of the Olympics and how America and China specifically dominate in terms of like the gold medals. So the fact that South Africa is ranking 4th here shows you that we have a country that is gifted. But sometimes with gifts and abilities and talents, they don't always get nurtured in the way that they should. I believe if South Africa had a system that was more focused on developing talent and skill, then you would see us even, I think, like, I don't see why we couldn't be above Russia or compete with Brazil and Argentina. Because again, we have our dominant sports, so rugby being our most dominant sport at this stage. Brazil and Argentina, I mean, they mainly have like soccer. And so we can catch up. I mean, our under-20s just defeated the USA under-20 side, our under-20 soccer team. And hopefully, Hugo Bruce's Bafana Bafana side can qualify for the World Cup next year. They have looked good so far. And I mean, the Cricket World Cup, we won that as well. So we're a country that is filled with talent. And again, this goes back to like 42 Sports and what it's about. And I spoke about this a little bit on Monday if you do want to take a listen to that episode. But there's a lot of talent in this country, but we don't always give the talent the platform and the resources to develop. I'm even thinking of names like Wade van Niekerk. I think he was the 400-meter record holder, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know which Olympic Games those were, but I remember he broke that record. There's a bunch of talented athletes in this country. And imagine now if we focus a lot more, especially like from a younger age, on ensuring that these kids get the access to the best resources, the best training, the best coaching, the best education, the best opportunities. And that's, again, what 42 Sports wants to try and achieve. That's what I want to help out with. There were athletes all around me when I was in high school that were talented enough to at least go to the next phase, whether that's like university or semi-pro or professional. There were a bunch of guys talented enough. But I think if they had more resources, if they had more access to it, if they had more exposure to different opportunities, then what you also see is not just like individuals being granted more opportunities. What you see is the whole sporting culture and the whole sporting community in South Africa also begins to grow. Hey, I hope you're enjoying the podcast so far. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Before we dive back into the episode, I'd love it if you could take a quick moment to support this podcast. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, leaving a review or a rating goes a long way. And if you're watching on YouTube, a like, a comment, or even subscribing would mean the world to me. All right, that's enough from my side. Let's get back into the show. So it's not as if this only benefits one or two people. I mean, if there's multiple sports that we're good at and we dominate at, we've seen this with rugby and how that's had such a big impact on the community. I mean, when the Springboks are playing, like on Saturdays, all the meat shops, the butcheries are packed because people are braaiing and all of those things, and people are eating out and they're having watch parties with their friends and their family. So it's creating a lot of unity. It's creating a lot of positivity where in this country for a long time, we've not always had reasons to be grateful and positive. We see it every now and then when one of our sporting teams does well, like the Springboks with the World Cup. Everyone's united, everyone's in high spirits. then the World Cup kind of fades away and everyone's kind of just like, kind of down again and all of that. But just imagine we had access, or all of our sports, not just rugby, even soccer, hockey, cricket, swimming. Swimming's another one that South Africa is pretty good in at the moment and historically. But imagine if we just have all these different sports and it's just something for our people to celebrate. That way, like, every young person right now doesn't just have to say, okay, in order for me to be inspiring, in order for me to do something great, I have to be like Siya Kolisi. With all due respect to Captain Kolisi and all he's done for the country, some kids might be a little bit smaller and maybe they can only play soccer, or maybe they can only do archery or table tennis and whatnot. But my point is, there's a lot of talent in this country, and we as a community, South African community, have to do a lot more to ensure that all this talent gets developed. Similar to America, where the athletic infrastructure in America is insane. I mean, some people, and I'm not like promoting this because education is always going to be the number one thing, academics, but like, you should watch some of the American like athletes, college athletes, student athletes, when they go for like their football games and basketball games and stuff like that. Like, they are treated almost like royalty. And so I'm thinking, like, man, imagine we had that same investment in our athletes, in our university sports. Because it's not just that the specific athletes themselves that benefit, it's also the economy. The university gets more eyes, it gets more attention. Then there's more trade that can also happen in that environment. There's more sponsors, like businesses will have more opportunities to be visible. And it's just, like, sport is so powerful. And it creates a lot more than just a happy moment if your team wins or a sad moment if your team loses. And I think if you don't watch sport, if you don't understand sport, then that's what you can kind of limit it to. You can limit it to just, okay, maybe I'm going to watch this team, we're going to win or lose, and then I'm going to be sad for like an hour or two. Yes, that might be the case. Definitely. It's a part of watching sport, the emotion that is involved. But also just think about all the benefits down the line. I've spoken several times about the economy, but just how it gives people the opportunity to connect with one another. And I mean, for kids playing in school, it's healthy for them, it's good for them. And it develops a lot of teamwork skills and all of that can be transferable to, the corporate world or the working world. So what I would like to see in South Africa, and I want to be a part of this movement, is just more resources for our athletes and even the African continent in general. I mean, if you look at that list, if you go back to that list, also on that list, so we have South Africa, but we also have Kenya and Cameroon. There's a lot of talent on this continent. There's a lot of potential. But now it's the time to turn that potential into something tangible. Something that we can, I don't want to say consume because that sounds weird, but consume. We see it in more developed countries like America or the UK, where they just have athletes left, right, and center who might not be the most gifted, but because they've been in a healthy environment where they can develop and develop well and intentionally, they thrive. And so if South Africa at the moment is the fourth most talented country athletically and we're competing on a global stage, imagine how much more impressive we could be if there was more intention placed on sports development. I'm not going to say much else for today. That's all I have for you for this episode. Was slightly different, maybe more of a motivation to get involved within your sporting community. Even if you're a bit older, you can always start your own, I don't want to say informal, but like semi-pro kind of amateur club, whether it's tennis. I mean, paddle's a pretty fun sport nowadays, or it's a trending sport. It's a sport that's trending. Or like a soccer team or rugby team, touch rugby, cricket, whatever. Sport has a way of uniting people from different backgrounds and different beliefs. And it's healthy for you. but it also just creates like a lot of healthy competition as well. But we need to, especially with kids nowadays, having access to technology and having access to gadgets and all of that, it's very easy for kids to trade out playing outside with playing video games, mobile video games, or on the PlayStation or Xbox. So it's up to us to inspire that change around us, even within ourselves. I mean, yesterday I was playing five-a-side soccer, and my fitness is decent. Could be a little bit better, but at this stage, I can still definitely feel where I'm a bit unfit. But it was good for me. It was good for me to be able to connect with other guys who maybe aren't professional, but they enjoy a specific sport. And even when I was there, I was thinking, man, like, imagine these guys had access to resources. That just creates a lot more opportunities down the line. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode, and I'm hoping that you enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. And I will see you on Friday, and I'm looking forward to Friday's discussion. Also, I'm looking forward to having some athletes on the show where we'll be discussing their personal journeys, their specific sports, and where they would like to end up in the future. Well, for me, that's everything I have for you today. I'm Joshua Kijela, and this is 42 Sports, for the athlete to the world.